Hi, this is Kelly, and I'd like to talk to you about how we incorporate fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension work into our Smart Alec lessons. If you have used our materials, then you already know that we begin every lesson at the word level and slowly progress students through the word level, to the phrase level, to the sentence level, as a means for increasing and developing fluency. Another area of our lessons that I'd like to draw your attention to are the skill development portions that you will find on student workbook pages. The skill development area lends itself to our natural differentiation because you may have some students who are not ready for this portion yet. This portion is really going to develop comprehension and vocabulary work using the word list on this page. Like I said, some students may not be ready for this. You may have some readers who are taking so much effort and so much energy just to do the decoding work that they may not be ready to approach this yet. And if they're not, that is fine. That is something that you can leave off and perhaps circle back to in future lessons. You may have other groups that are able to do the decoding, able to do the word work, and add the skill development. This is one way that you can use our lessons with multiple small groups depending on their ability and depending on their readiness to approach these lessons. But I wanted to give you some examples. So for number one, this page, by the way, is from lesson number 3. It's our DGE lesson. We're still in closed syllables. DGE says the sound of J. But since no word in the English language ends in a J, we spell that sound with a DGE. So after students have gone through and done the word work with you as the teacher up here, then if they're ready, you may walk them through this skill development. Number one is asking the student to go back into these words and circle the verbs. Now this type of work, verbs, adjectives, nouns, this grammar work is important for all of our students, but it needs repeated exposure and practice for our students with dyslexia, because categorizing words into nouns, verbs, and adjectives and other parts of speech, that can be a lot of overwhelming information that's hard to keep straight categorizing it mentally. So we layer this work into every lesson for students who are ready for it. So students can go back and do this independently, or they may need that scaffolded where you read the word to them or have them read the word, and then you talk through again, what is a verb? Is that word showing us action? Number two, box the words that rhyme with sludge. This rhyming work is also layered into every lesson in a few different points. That rhyming work continues to enhance and develop those phonemic awareness skills, which you know are critical to a student's success when it comes to decoding. We have other examples like let me see, I can't read that backwards. Find a word that can mean a light touch. So we have synonyms, we have antonyms pulled in. And then we have the student draw a picture of a rock that won't budge. We're bringing in that vocabulary. Budge might be a new word for them. Now, you're going to have the skill development piece in every single lesson. These just happen to be the specific skills we're working on in lesson 3, but lesson 4, lesson 5, all the way up to lesson 30, they're going to be different skills, but similar, that they tie in vocabulary, they tie in different parts of speech and different skills you can have students do if they're ready to approach that following the word work. Another page that you will find consistently in all of our Smart Alec lessons is the final page of each lesson. Approaches sentence fluency. Now again, if you're using this in the classroom, this may take a few days for your students to work up to, depending on their readiness and depending on their proficiency at the word level and at the phrase level. If your students are ready for this, this is what the page looks like. And again, in the student workbook, you have this page for every lesson. What I do when I begin working with this page with my students is I have them go through and, like it says here at the top, find the DGE words in each sentence, and I have them highlight those words. Then we go back through and we read those words in isolation, and this is kind of debugging the text, helping them remember, you know these words, we've mastered these words, and that's why we're ready to move into the sentence fluency. Once we've gone through and debugged that and read all the highlighted words, then we work on reading the sentences fluency. We heed our punctuation, we work on our inflection, we work on our pacing and our tone. This is great sentence fluency work. Then if your student is ready and depending on their ability, you can use these comprehension questions. These are great because the comprehension questions refer back to the sentences they've read, but you're going to find there are a lot of questions here that rely on inferring and implied information from the text. So although this looks very simple, we're tying in a lot of higher level thinking skills for our students. Now, a way that you can differentiate this is, first of all, just deciding, are your students ready to approach the comprehension portion of this? They may just be at a level they need to work on sentence fluency and not tackle this. Another group may be ready to tackle this, but have you guide them through this. For example, the first question, where do you think the lodge might be? You might need to guide students or model some think aloud by taking them back to the sentences that give those clues and thinking aloud how you're using clues from that sentence to answer this question. And perhaps that group just needs to go through and verbally discuss these questions and have you guide them through finding the clues. You also might have a group that can read these questions, read the text, and answer them independently with a written sentence. So naturally, you can differentiate for 3 different reading levels using one page. And again, this is a page you're going to find in every lesson in the student workbook. This is usually the last page before you get to additional activities. And this is one that is great for seeing if students have proficiently moved from the word level all the way to the sentence level with their fluency. So, just to recap, as you use our Smart Alec resources, we want you to know that it's important to us that we not only focus on the phonemic code and phonics and decoding, while that is the core focus of each of our lessons, we know that the 5 essential components of literacy to include fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension need to be included in all literacy work that you do with students. We need to be tapping into all 5 of those elements in order for our literacy instruction to be successful. So those are just a few tips and tricks of how you can tie those 3 elements into our decoding work and into using the word lists that are provided in the student workbook. Thank you.